This week we're going to be discussing pricing and channels of distribution. And these are two very important topics in marketing and also fairly technical in their nature. So one of the things I'm going to do this week is break these lectures down into smaller pieces so that you can go through each one of these individually and then put them all together yourselves. So a couple of quotes here that I think are important when we talk a little bit about pricing. One is that one of my favorite quotes is, "However you get customers will be the way you will lose them." And what I mean by this is that if you attract customers by offering lower prices, what you then end up with is price-sensitive customers who you will lose to someone else who offers even a lower price. On the other hand, if you get customers by offering higher quality or faster service, the only way that you'll lose those customers is if someone offers even a higher quality product or even faster service or better service. Second quote in here is a man trying to sell a blind horse always praises its feet. It's a famous German proverb. And of course, what this really means is that for many companies, they spend a lot of time lowering price, and of course the idea behind that would be that they focus on price when the real problem is perhaps their product doesn't offer enough value to customers. Everyone makes a living by selling something, R.L. Stevenson, and of course that's the idea that everybody has to sell something, and of course price is one of the key elements in making that exchange. Remember how pricing works, how the concept of exchange works. The idea behind exchange is that we trade things, and for most individuals, it's trading money for goods. Your book talks a little bit about bartering, how some people might trade one product for another. That's sort of an idea. But in reality, for the most part, when we talk about the theory of exchange and the idea of marketing as the science of exchange, the concept is that price is one of the elements that creates that exchange ratio. Pricing has become one of the most important aspects in marketing management today, and of course, a couple of real important things to understand here. Today, firms are using price as a competitive tool more often than any other time in the history of American business. And this is partially due to the fact that there is more information available about the prices that firms offer than ever before. You can go to the store and look at a price for something. Let's say that you're at Best Buy and you're looking at a Blu-ray player, and you can go up online on your cell phone, on your smartphone, and find out what everybody else is charging for that same thing. So as a result, firms today, you see firms using price as a competitive tool more often than any other time in the history of American business. And surveys of marketing executives indicate that pricing has become one of the most important and difficult aspects of their job. Is it really the most important aspect of marketing? Well, understand the importance of price. If I charge a price that's too low, I obviously don't generate as much revenue as I could have if I had charged a higher price. If I try to charge a price that's too high, many people won't buy my product, and once again, my revenues go down. So the argument in marketing, and the argument about why price is so important, is because it determines how much revenue comes into the organization, and of course, all organizations succeed by generating revenue and then hopefully profits. So is pricing the most important aspect? I'm not sure if it's the most important aspect, but it is one of those aspects where there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks. So no matter what price you're charging, someone thinks you should be charging a different price. Price is the easiest marketing tool to respond to a competitive move. So if your competition does something, whatever it might be, the easiest way to respond and the fastest way to respond is with price. You can change price faster than you can change any element of the product mix. You can't change attributes very easily, can't change promotion very easily, but you can change price almost immediately. It's the most often used promotional competitive tool, as we discussed before, and it's the marketing decision that turns out how much money will come into the firm, as I just talked about. The concept is there's an optimal price, and if price is too high, you lose, and if prices are too low, you lose. And of course, pricing is one of the most difficult decisions facing marketing managers today. They're always second guessed about pricing. If you watch CNBC and watch any of the financial news, whenever they're talking to a CEO, it seems like part of the discussion is about how much you're charging for your product. But contrary to popular belief, nobody can determine the optimal price. We're going to be, if you remember your econ class, your 2 economics classes, your microeconomics class talks about setting price and this concept that there's an optimal price. And in we offer a pricing course in the marketing department, and we talk about optimal prices. But at the end of the day, no one can determine the optimal price because no one really knows exactly how everyone is going to react to a price change. If I try to raise my price, what does the competition do? What do customers do? And so you can get to a point where you have a price that is in the right area, but it might not be an optimal price. And then, of course, as we talked before, however you buy customers will be the way you lose them, and I want you to keep that in mind, that if you buy customers by lowering price, you're going to lose them to someone else who lowers the price even more. All right, some basic pricing information for the practicing manager. All right, first I want to talk a little bit about the Honda and Ford approaches to setting price. So when Honda gets ready to make a new automobile, very first thing they do is they talk about what kind of car they want to produce. So we want to produce when they got ready to produce their subcompact sedan called the Fit, the very first thing that Honda does is say, here's the price that we want to be able to charge for this automobile. This is the end price that we want consumers to pay. And then they work backwards from there, trying to produce the best automobile they can for that particular price. And so they start with price as one of their first decision tools in product planning, and then work their way back to how that vehicle will, how to best optimize the product mix for that vehicle to hit that price point. The traditional American approach, or what we call the Ford approach to setting price, is we say, well, we want to make a subcompact automobile, and so let's build one. And so they put together the vehicle, and when they get done, they say, here's how much it would cost, and then here's what the price will have to be for us to create the margins that we need to be profitable. Then they say, is that price too high or too low? If the price is too low, then they can add some additional elements to the automobile. If the price is too high, then they start saying, well, what can we do to lower the price? Well, maybe we can put in lower quality brakes, or maybe what we can do is we can put in lower quality seats, or we can put in a smaller engine, or things like that. And of course, at the end of the day, those two approaches don't seem very different, but they end up with very different automobiles. If you have the price already set, then it's much easier, I think, to optimize what the best mix of products will be to hit that price, as opposed to building your product and then deciding whether or not the price is too high, and if it is, trying to figure out what you're going to take out or how you're going to reduce the price. And so I want you to think about that the next time that you're involved in a decision about pricing. And then the last thing I want to talk about in this set of slides is the idea that a price that a buyer pays takes on different names depending on what is purchased, all right? And so we think about a new car, there's a final price, which is the list price minus any discounts that the dealership gives you, plus any rebates, plus perhaps an old car trade-in, plus maybe some financing fees and whatever, right? And so think about it in college, it's your price is your tuition, You have a published tuition minus some scholarship, financial discounts, and other number of credits given to you, plus special activity fees. Like you here obviously have a huge student user fee for the union and for the student health center and for the student recreational center and things like that. And so it's important to understand that the price that you see, the list price that you will see, is typically not the price that you pay for lots of products. On the other hand, if you go to the grocery store and you get ready to buy a 12-pack of soda and it says $4.99, when you go to the cash register to check out, it turns out that it's very difficult to negotiate that price down. You can't, most of the cashiers aren't really interested in negotiating price on an item-by-item basis. Once again, if you go back to the idea of the theory of exchange, when we talk about the exchange, it's not only the price that you pay for something is not only in terms of actual dollars, but you might also be paying a price in terms of the amount of time or the amount of or storage or something else that you have to do on your end to get to that price. An example is you go to Costco and you you decide you're going to buy ketchup at Costco, and of course it comes with 5 giant jugs of ketchup, which is like 4 gallons of ketchup. In reality, you get that ketchup cheaper at that price than you would at the grocery store, and we refer to that as a volume discount. Of course, so you got a cheaper price, but the fact is that you now have to store that product. You have to store those other 4 bottles of ketchup other than the one you're using right now. And that has to then be figured into the whole concept of the overall price. So you have a bunch of money tied up now and a bunch of inventory tied up in ketchup. And for many of you, 4 or 5 large bottles of ketchup is a 2-year supply. All right. So when we think about price, think about total price, not necessarily the cash price.